Political analyst Peter Mathews is a professor of political science at Cypress College. He joins us now live from Los Angeles. Peter, first off, there is now a plaque bearing Mr. Trump's name along that replacement fence that he visited on Friday. But this piece of fence was actually decided under the previous administration.
It's quite amazing the lengths to which this president will go to make a point. I mean, that's so ironic that he would choose that fence that started back then just to put his name on it so he can sell the fence as a voting point for his voters. I think that it's outrageous that he's not looking at the economic impact of this whole thing. It's the macroeconomic situation of free trade, but not fair trade, that's caused people to come up from south of the border. Not to mention Central America, with all the political wars that were going on there, where the United States actually intervened in Nicaragua with the Contras, for example, El Salvador. A lot of the refugees coming here for political asylum have legitimate reason to come here,
well,
Cyril,
because he said today, he said on Friday, it's a hoax.
We have to interview them. Yeah, go ahead, I'm sorry. A hoax. He can call it a hoax, but the law, the international law, the treaties that we belong to, require that we accept asylum seekers at the border and then interview them to see and give them a judge, let them have a fair hearing to see whether they're actually going to be persecuted back home or not. And there's some real legitimate concerns. These people go back home and get tortured and killed. And a lot of it has to do with the United States' involvement in Central American wars and also the inequities between rich and poor over there, the need for reform. Now, Mexico is a different situation because in Mexico, the free trade agreement did not require that we have higher wages and higher environmental standards under President Clinton. That would have made a big difference because then when Mexican workers got paid more all these 15, 20 years, they could buy the products that we have and remain in Mexico because they would have a good living. Instead, they had very low wages. Mexican auto workers getting paid $4 to $5 an hour. Now, this new trade agreement might help make that a little bit better. But the Mexican workers are coming here because of a lack of jobs and low-paid jobs that American corporations are benefiting from.
But I want to say, Peter, I want to say Mexico and immigrants from Mexico are really not the problem anymore from Mr. Trump's perspective. He's focused on the Central American migrants because there are actually, if I'm not mistaken, more Mexicans going back from the U.S. to Mexico than the other way around.
That's true at this point. That's true.
Mr. Trump has flip-flopped on his threats to Mexico. He said he was going to shut the border, then he backed away from that. Now he's touting the tariffs. He appears to believe that's a more effective tool. Why is he flip-flopping on this?
He doesn't have his mind made up yet which way to go because he doesn't understand the situation fully. The tariffs will be a total disaster. It'll cause the cost of cars to go way up here. It'll reduce the trade. $100 billion in cars comes between Mexico and the United States every year. We have a $600 trade with them in terms of overall trade in goods and services. This will be a total disaster if he brings tariffs on cars and escalates the war. That's the real problem. It'll become a trade war, and both sides will lose. He doesn't know which way to go because he hasn't really studied the situation carefully and listened to measured, objective economists. Instead, he has some of these extremists on his side, like Stephen Miller, other economists like Peter Navarro, who are total protectionists, don't believe in fair trade. He's got to get his economics together first, Cyril, before we can go forward properly and with one policy.
Yeah, well, we don't know where he's going to settle on this, on his threats to Mexico, because they've been changing quite a lot over the last week. So who knows where he will end up on that. Peter Mathews, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thank you.